just going to end up probably calling this segment like "Just Do the Nazi Salute, Bigot" or something like that. I don't know, because that's the argument which it comes down to. So this is news that's been bubbling in the UK for a long time. To preface this, I'm not a football fan. My interest in football goes as far as football chants. I'll be honest, because I think they're hilarious.
Remarkable interest in football chants you have.
They're so tribal, and I love it. Anyway, so
us.
So this is the first story here. So England booed again for taking the knee at Euro warm-up. So football clubs have been doing this throughout the last year, taking the knee. Some of them have stopped because they realised how cringe it was and how the fans didn't like it. The England team, not so much. The England team have just carried on doing it, even though everyone hates it, because it's obviously just it's not a question of racial tolerance or any such nonsense. No, this is an endorsement of BLM. Everyone knows that. Don't try and say it's anything else. Anyway, so
it's expressly political.
They say in here, after a minority booed the stance before Wednesday's triumphant friendly against Austria, England manager Gareth Southgate on Saturday urged fans to show their support for his squad decision to show its solidarity against racism and inequality. Liar. I'm sorry, like, there are plenty of things in football already, like show the red card, the armbands, or whatever the heck else. You know, there's been a load of different things about get racism out of football. But this is not it. This is something else. And,
Callum's new brave campaign, get football out of racism. I'm so sick of them.
Anyway, so they say, but the Gears return to Middlesbrough's Riverside Stadium on Sunday. So if we can get the first clip up, this is them booing the guys.
Good.
Yeah, minority my ass.
No, but hang on, just very quick, right? Just keep booing. Always gatekeep. If they're doing something you don't like, boo and boo harder. Boo more. You know, all of you, make sure every single person in the stadium is booing. Make sure they know that every time they take that goddamn knee, they're going to be met with huge amounts of condemnation and shame. Boo. Keep booing. Booing is the best form of gatekeeping in football, I'm telling you.
Yep. Keep the leftists and their politics out of football.
Yep.
And the same would be true if people started running around with like right-wing banners or some shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's if you want football to be about football and not about politics, as with every other person's personal hobbies, like, you have to gatekeep against ideological crusaders.
100%. If they're talking about anything other than football, boo them.
So, correct thing to do. Based fans there, and keep it up. Good work. I mean, I'm not even a football fan. I don't care at all.
No, I don't care about football. But
you guys shouldn't have your hobby ruined just because a bunch of leftists want to jump in.
Exactly. It's about protecting the integrity of the space. And this goes for every single space. If you create a space for a particular interest, if someone's trying to inject some other interest into it, you gatekeep them. No, go somewhere else and do that somewhere else. Not appropriate. Sorry, Karen.
So, what were the leftists online in response to this? Well, they're funny, so let's have some fun. So, first one here, Gary Lineker. If you boo at England players for taking the knee, you're part of the reason why players are taking the knee.
Right, so he's calling them all racists.
Yep. But also just, I mean, stellar logic. Like, if you boo the England players for doing Nazi salutes, you're part of the reason why we need Nazi salutes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no logic whatsoever there.
Well, it's what the best part about this is that all it essentially boils down to is any opposition to leftism justifies leftism.
And the same could be true in any statement for anything ever, which is why it's a nonsensical statement in logical terms. But you can see him there, obviously being a shill for leftist ideology, as he has done many a time. This isn't new for Gary Lineker. So if we go to the next one here. So this is LBC, so you can see James O'Brien. He interviewed someone who was booing, and it's an amazing interview. You can see the quote LBC went with here, and I love their racial pride flag in their logo there with the black and brown stripe. Yep, black and brown, that's sexuality. Sane people run LBC. How hard do you have to wave your flag whilst booing England players? Why are using a seat up a seat a proper fan could have had? Says James O'Brien.
Ooh, a proper fan.
Like James O'Brien and Labour Party members who would, I don't know, boo the Jewish players instead. Anyway, so if we go to the first clip here, this is parts of the interview which I think were amazing.
I was actually at the Riverside yesterday, and I booed the knee.
Okay.
Based.
Why do you think the players are doing it?
I know the reasons that they've said that they're doing it.
So you booed that then?
No.
So you booed the reasons that they haven't said?
My undertone is that when I hear the word Black Lives Matter, I think of burning buildings in America, attacking the police and violent protests.
Yeah.
Based.
So I'm not...
Have you tried not to?
Sorry?
30
Have you
people
tried
dead,
not
James.
to think that? Have you tried to think about the words and what they actually mean?
One of my aunties actually was killed during a Black Lives Matter protest last year.
And that's appalling. But have you tried thinking about what the words actually mean?
I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? It's like a Socialist Party member.
James, they killed someone he knows.
From the USSR or something. Like, when I think of the Communist Party of China, I think of genocide and famine. Yeah, but if you tried not to.
Yeah.
If you try thinking about the glorious parades we have.
Yeah, when I see the England team doing the Nazi salute, I can't help but think of the genocide. Yeah, but you could think of the roads. You know?
Have you tried denying reality? Yeah, but my aunt died. Yeah, but you could just think about something else.
30 people died in summer of 2020 because of Black Lives Matter, James. You absolute maniac. Literally billions of dollars of damage was done. Livelihoods were ruined. But if you just tried not to.
If you just tried not to. I mean, it really is like some kind of socialist who's in the gulag and just like, yeah, but what if you just pretend?
Oh, this is just like when Winston is being taken up to room 101 and the guy comes in and he's like, no, I'm glad they got me. I didn't want to commit the thought crime.
Anyway, let's go for the next one here.
I don't get to tell you why you're kneeling or what you're showing support for. I get only to ask you. So we've asked the footballers why they're doing it, and they've told us, Tom.
I think if you make a bold statement rather than just taking the knee every week, actually, I think I would respect it more. But it's just a complete, like, politically correct statement done.
But again, you're telling them why they're doing it, and they're giving you a very different answer to that question. So what do you think qualifies you to say, oh, I know that's why you say you're doing it, but I know better?
Well, again, that's your opinion. You know, for me...
No, you boo them. They've told you why they're doing it, and you're booing them for completely different reasons.
I love that. We can now redefine anything we want, and no one can ever complain, because we redefine it how we want. If I want to do a Nazi salute, and then say it's for love and tolerance, you just have to let me do it.
What, like those Scottish guys?
Yeah, like the meme lords.
Yeah.
Like, that's James O'Brien's logic there. If it obviously stands for one thing, don't worry. I've told you it stands for another.
Well, that's amazing. That's incredible. That means that the Christians are all going to appropriate the pride flag because it's a covenant between the Israelites and God.
Yes.
So, and what was God's view on the gays? Not brilliant. So now the pride flag is an anti-gay flag according to James O'Brien logic.
But I also love how we can stop the witch hunts over this symbol, the OK symbol, in which everyone's like, this means white power. It's like, no. Means okay has always meant okay, but leftists are like, there's a W and a P because I've got a big brain and I can figure it out.
Because I went on 4chan and I definitely wasn't trolled. I definitely didn't have the piss ripped out of me on that. It's ridiculous.
Like, if anyone's wondering where that comes from, that's literally a meme in which 4chan decided they would convince leftists that it means white power so that they would look ridiculous, and then they believed it, and yet they still believe it even after the posts have been pointed out to them that you were trolled. But Jesus Christ.
But the thing about James O'Brien here, though, is, like, sorry, you can say, oh, well, the England players said that they, I don't know, whatever reason they were concerned about, like, black people being persecuted by the police and stuff like that. So, sure. But that's, like, you could have had someone in the 30s saying, well, look, I don't really support everything Hitler does, but I am concerned about, like, Soviet influence across Eastern Europe, and therefore, and it's like, okay, but they are also a genocidal regime. Like, these are also murderous communists.
These things matter. I mean, like you could, the BLM taking the knee thing, I mean, BLM are a directly socialist organization. Yeah. You can go to their website, you remember the stuff they've scrubbed because people started pointing out, like getting rid of the nuclear family.
They're open Marxists, James. Do you know what a Marxist is, James? It's a genocidal revolutionary against liberal democracy. Well, I'm not supporting anything that comes near approaching that.
And the England Football Club is endorsing that by taking the knee, whether they like it or not. And
absolutely.
This is why them doing Nazi salutes in Germany in 1938 was not a good thing. We'll get onto that in a minute. Yeah. But let's play the last clip.
Do you think booing them will make them play better or worse?
Oh, God, worse,
but it's hopefully not about the football why I'm booing them.
I don't care. Do you think it will make them play better or worse?
I mean, I guess worse. But that's
and here you are. Are you going to boo them at the Croatia game?
Yes,
absolutely.
if they take the knee.
Cool. You're a massive supporter, you are, aren't you? How big's your flag?
Sorry?
How big's your flag?
I've got a British flag just to,
Yeah, I know. I know you have. You don't need to tell me that. I'm just wondering how big it is.
Massive?
I can't remember, sorry.
All right, and how hard do you wave it when you're booing the England players?
Really hard.
I don't wave a flag.
Oh. Call yourself a football fan. Well, I want England to win. You don't want them to win. Why are you going to the games? Why are you using up a seat that a proper fan could have?
I mean, it's pathetic. I mean,
he looks like he's losing his mind as well there, right? But that's amazing. It's like, no, James, right? If you keep using the England example from the 30s, but like, okay, if the English team is there giving the Nazi salute, I want them to lose. I want them to lose. I don't want a team that's doing the Nazi salute to win. And if that's the England team, that's the team I'm supposed to be supporting. They should know better. They should know better. No, the whether you win or lose a game of football now is actually beyond the pale. Who cares?
The game's already been ruined because this happens right at the start.
Exactly, they're doing the Nazi salute down there, James. But you're going to make them perform worse. They're supporting genocide, James. What?
Yeah. Also, this guy mentions in other parts of the interviews that he spends tens of thousands of pounds, traveling around Europe and the world with the England team, as a real hardcore supporter. And this is his hobby. This is the thing he likes in his life. And he's like, you're not a proper supporter.
And now the Nazis have taken over.
But unlike James O'Brien, who is
who goes to these games all the time, I've got no doubt.
There's also another pathetic take here. So Piers Morgan.
Oh God!
Disgusting to hear so many supposed England fans loudly boo a team with many black players for taking the knee to protest racial inequality, then loudly cheer one of those black players when he scored. Next time the idiots boo, the player should walk off.
Yes. They should walk off.
The fans should walk off.
But the players should also walk off. So look, we're being booed for taking the knee. This is a political event, and I don't feel comfortable doing it. Sorry.
I mean, just brain dead there. They're booing for the politicization, and yet they cheer for the goal scoring. What is going on here?
It's like they like the game or something. Piers, you're such a dunce.
Anyway, so let's go to the next one here. So this is Lawrence Fox celebrating it. So you can see the divide here. England fans 2, BLM Kneeling Society 0.
Excellent. Good job, Loza.
If we go to the next one, so Parliament got involved, because of course they did, so Downing Street has refused to condemn the England fans who booed the players taking the knee.
Yes, good.
Based Downing Street.
But that's not good enough. That's not good enough, right? What you need to do, Boris, right, you need to come out and endorse. You need to go out, do your little video outside of Downing Street and go, I support all of the England fans who boo for Black Lives Matter because it's a communist movement that's a part of infiltration of our public life and the politicization of everything that we hold dear, that we don't want to have politicized. Good on those England fans, and they should boo harder next time. That's what you should do.
Correct. Let's go to the next one here. So this is an article talking about why do some of the players boo. So the BBC decided to try and ask them instead of just screaming racist. So... in here.
That's a real leaf they've turned over.
So one guy says, booing is a way football fans can communicate dissatisfaction, says Andrew. He booed to show his objection to what he sees as, quote, an identity politics agenda that focuses on black people and skin colour, when as far as I'm concerned, we are all England fans regardless of colour.
I mean, he was right.
Sounds like a racist.
Well...
It's just so ridiculous. You see them calling them racist, Gary Lineker and all that. So it's like, but they're literally taking the liberal position on race, which is the skin colour isn't what's important. Yeah. And the Marxist BLM types are taking the position that skin colour is what's important.
Yes, they've adopted the Nazi position on skin colour.
Anyway.
But hang on, but that's absolutely right. An identity politics agenda that focuses on black people and skin colour, whereas we're all England fans. You're exactly right. That is exactly the liberal position. And he's correct. That's the thing.
East Andrew. Someone else says, if I wanted to watch politics, I would switch on Westminster Live.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Apparently that came from a Twitter user, so I guess BBC asked one person, and they gave up. And they just scrolled Twitter for the rest of the day. So if we go to the next one here, so this is a Jewish Times news article, which is lambasting some MP for daring to compare taking the knee to the Nazi salute. And they'll get into their smears now. So they say Batislaw politician Brendan Clark Smith was condemned by Jewish leaders, not just leftist leaders, who urged the Conservatives to take action over his comments.
Well, who? Are we talking about Netanyahu or something?
No. In a Facebook post, Clark Smith wrote, following the 1936 Berlin Olympics being used as a propaganda exercise and under a great deal of pressure from both the FA and the British ambassador at the time, the players were encouraged to join the hosts in making the Nazi salute prior to the match. Reluctantly, they agreed, and for many years since, it has been a great source of shame for many of those involved, including the Football Association. The point here is that regardless of the original intention, the mixing of politics and football has disastrous consequences. True.
Yeah, and it's just inappropriate.
So, of course, what's the criticism? It comes from the Director of Anti-Semitism Policy. So he condemned the comparison on Monday.
What's that?
No idea. Who cares? But this is what makes the news for Jewish News, apparently. This is an ill-considered and offensive comparison. Why?
Good.
Which, taken together with the additional comments, demonstrate an urgent requirement for education.
Oh.
I hope the party will take action, so this MP should be suspended or censored.
Yeah, no. So Brendan Clark Smith is completely correct. He should double down on this and say, no, it's wrong to politicise this sport.
Which he did. So we go to the next one. So this is, what is it, Politics for All reporting on it, and then he's just like, bit of a lazy description, don't you think? Because true, if you actually go to his Facebook post in which he talks about this, which is just the next one here, it's pretty long, and it's detailed, and it's a well-reasoned argument. You can disagree with it or agree with it, but he's not just comparing them, and that's controversial. It's like, no, it's a correct comparison in this case. So he says, earlier this week I was highly critical of the decision to take the knee in a friendly match against Austria, had to be Austria, and today the same due to happen with a friendly match against Romania. Today's match has a special significance for me, not least because I have not only lived and worked in Romania, but I am also married to a Romanian, and our son is both British and Romanian. But the scars of recent history are still apparent. I remember as a 9-year-old watching on TV when the dictator Nicolae Ceausescu and his wife were ousted, put on trial, and executed on Christmas Day, 1989. My wife's birthday certificate still bears the words Socialist Republic of Romania. And at the top, even today, the country is recovering, albeit very well from those days. But of course, Romania is not the only communist regime in the world, and we still see this poisonous ideology today, despite the tens of millions of deaths worldwide it has been responsible for, be it the Soviet Union, China, or beyond.
Based.
True. It is precisely for this point that this sort of ideology must not be glorified. It is also precisely the reason why BLM, whose political goals have included crushing capitalism, defunding the police, destroying the nuclear family, and attacking Israel, are far more than simply an organization fighting racism.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent description and excellent response. Fantastic. I couldn't have written it better myself.
I mean, absolutely perfect. Just communist bad. These guys are communists, therefore they're bad. True.
The logic holds up.
So then the comparison comes in. Let's travel back in time to Berlin in 1938. England had travelled to Germany to play the national team, after controversially hosting them in 1935 at White Hart Lane, where the Germans did a Nazi salute during their anthem being played, and the swastika was up there because that was the country's flag, apparently.
Sure.
So, despite protests, the initial game went ahead, and both the Home Secretary and the FA made the point of keeping football and politics independent. The players were encouraged, when they went to Germany in 1938, to do the Nazi salute prior to the match, so for the start of the match when the German anthem was playing. England players, including the great Sir Stanley Matthews, were not impressed and did not want to do it. However, they had been reassured that it was merely a form of gesture of courtesy and it did not mean an endorsement of the regime. So do our players really want to carry the political baggage that comes with taking the knee? I doubt many do, but perhaps it's time to stop and think for once. Maybe there are better ways than this. Let's learn from history, let's find something we can all support, and at the same time keep politics out of football.
That's a great statement.
I've shortened that a little bit because it's just really long, but I think I've got all the points in there he's making, and it's true. Good points.
But I mean, look at that. See, literally the England team doing the Nazi salute. Isn't that just the most disgraceful thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, if we go to the next link, we can see it a little bit bigger, because I just decided to look up the history of this, and it's embarrassing.
It's horrible.
It's just a symbol, guys.
But this is what it looks like to me when the England team's taking the knee for Black Lives Matter. Sorry, it's a radical communist organisation that he points out does want all of the things he accused them of wanting. And so, no, I can't support that. And I view that as much the same as the Nazis.
Like 1938, German James O'Brien is like, they're just standing up to Marxism.
Race-based revolutionary socialism from either wing for the Germans or black people is bad. It's just not good for anyone.
So the history of this, they've been doing it since Hitler took over. The English were informed that they should do it to try and ease tensions because they just taken Austria and whatnot, so things are a bit tense. And there's two versions of the events listed in here. So one is from the FA secretary and some of the players who said there were no objections to being told they should do the Nazi salute. And then there's Stanley Matthews, who later recorded in his life in book form that the dressing room erupted, all the England players were livid and totally opposed to this. I don't know which one's true.
I find that more believable, though. Like, literally none of the English players have got a problem giving the Nazis. I doubt it. No objections. Yeah.
Plus, the FA are likely to say that there were no objections.
Of course they are, yeah.
Why wouldn't they? So, if we go to the next one here. So, this is just an example which my dad sent me, actually. So, this is something you've got to take into account. So, here is a footballer who refuses to take the knee as he has doubts over the Black Lives Matter campaign. And he says, I would request anyone look into this BLM and to look into what the organisation does and what they stand for. Because it's scandalous that the world and the world's media has got behind Black Lives Matter. Based.
Again, that's perfect.
But the disappointing caveat is he's only really able to say this, and let's be frank, because he's a black football player.
Yeah.
If any of the white football players had said this, they'd be in big, big trouble. And then you've got to think of the white football players who don't agree with Marxism, and yet having to take the knee at these matches because they know there's no other choice. They're going to be screwed over by all of the football associations and all the rest of it if they dare stand up for what is right. So this isn't the only MP who's pointed out this is nonsense. There's one other MP who's being he's being panned by the left for daring to say that he's going to boycott the whole thing. So we go to the next one. So this is Tory MP to boycott England games in row over taking the knee. So I like how a lot of the Conservatives are starting to take note of this, because it is important. And he says, for the first time in my life, I will not be watching my beloved England team whilst they are supporting a political movement whose core principles and aims are to undermine our very way of life. True.
Bravo.
Lee Anderson, good guy.
Good. We're starting to find a few Conservatives that not just with backbones, but actually an understanding of what's going on. This is excellent.
Yeah, this is great news. We've got a bit of a white pill. I'd love to see this go up further through the ranks as well of the Conservative Party.
Yes.
Because opposing Marxism, kind of what you're made for. Like, presumably you're not there to promote Marxism, Conservative Party.
Shouldn't be a terribly controversial thing in conservative circles.
And to have it in the national team.
Yeah. I realise that the media is going to howl, but when don't they?
I mean, the Marxists in the media will howl. Who cares?
Yeah. You're nearly at a 50% approval rating. You could.
They've been howling a while. It does seem to work.
They've literally been howling the whole time, and your popularity just keeps going up while you do nothing. Imagine coming out and being like, "So I actually don't think that this Marxist movement should be supported by the English team. Good job, chaps. Let's hope we win or whatever." And just keep going.
Well, I love how there's just like, there's Marxist is all nonsense, BLM's all nonsense, tick, 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 tick.
I love the fact that footballers are just like, look, I've looked into this. I had a quick read of it. He's like, look, I've done my own research on this, and I don't believe the media narrative on it. That's what he was saying in the thing, the black footballer. And it's like, no, he's right. He's absolutely right. This is not some sort of innocent, in the 80s, you'd have these charity drives. Like in the 80s and 90s, you'd have I can't remember the names of them now, but like the big charity events, the once a year sort of thing, and they'd raise however many millions for starving kids in Africa. Totally apolitical. Everyone can get behind it. Nothing to concern about. So no one needs to get on the high horse about it. But this is not that. This is expressly political.
It's got nothing to do with toleration of different races.
No.
Which is why they talk about racial inequality and not racist treatment.
Yeah.
Why do they say racial inequality? Because inequality is a communist value. It is not a liberal value. A liberal value is freedom. A black man should be as free as a white man. That's the liberal standard.
Yeah.
The communist standard is the black man should be as equal as the white man. How does that even work? Like, he's going to have the same amount of money? He's going to have the same life?
Well, that means that basically Kanye West is going to have to give up some money because I don't have nearly as much as he does.
Yes.
Bad luck, Kanye. Equality.
Rip. Anyway, Conservative MPs.
Yeah.
Doing a good thing. So, praise.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.